What would your advice to be someone that's on the fence of implementing the 6-lane highway or implementing the client concierge system?
I think it is a commitment because it's a total different way of doing your business. And if you're tired of the rat race, chasing realtors down the street, begging for business, competing with 1,000 other loan officers that are all going after the same realtor, this is the way to go. This is an alternative. You have to commit to it. And it does take time to kind of make it your own and kind of put the right people into place. But once you do start doing it, you can see the change. You can see how this can be not a short-term situation, but really a long-term way of doing things that will open up your time as a person.
Hey guys, Wally, Elibiary. All right, so what is 24/7 mindset? Most times when you hear 24/7, you're thinking what? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just grinding, hustling. I learned over time a 24-year career in mortgage and multiple other businesses that I own is, unfortunately, you'll get burnt out. I became an absent father, I became an absent husband, and I became a poor business leader because I was trying to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to build a business, maintain a business. When I learned how to work smarter, not just harder, by doing things the best way it could be done, instead of just simply doing my best, I learned how to work only 24 hours a week, 7 months a year, while I got paid from the business residually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can do the same. Welcome to the show. All right, so 24/7 mindset world. What's super exciting about this is Chad and I connected, I don't know, maybe probably 6-7 months or so ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. And he had a huge financial advisor opportunity. We chopped it up. I mean, we talked, I think it was like a Saturday morning. We talked up for like an hour and a half. And I really, really enjoyed the conversation because it was definitely very higher level thinking. So before we kind of jump into your journey, Chad, being a top mortgage loan officer, it's focused on financial advisors. Let's kind of tell us a little bit about your past. How long you've been in the business? What's your production kind of look like? What's your professional world kind of look like now?
Yeah, appreciate it, Wally. I've been in the business since 2007, and it was an interesting time to get in, to say the least. After many years of going in and out of sales positions, including selling Yellow Page ads for a while, which was really cut my teeth in the sales industry. Somebody talked me into coming in the mortgage world, which I had no idea it even existed, to be honest with you. Never bought a house or anything before 2007. So
Yep.
I landed with a company called Home Bank Mortgage Corporation.
Okay.
They're out of Atlanta. Are you familiar with them?
No, I haven't.
They're a regional correspondent lender, and really their whole business model was based on bringing in young talent and really just creating a sales force out of just young folks who had no idea what to do. They have no bad habits. And so they sent everybody to Atlanta for a 6-week boot camp. They taught us everything from licensing. They got us licensed in every state. They taught us all the sales process, guidelines. So it was really cool. It was a really cool experience. So when I got out of there on that course, I felt like I was a seasoned veteran. So I felt like it was really just a step up from everyone else. So, but at that time, got into mortgage business, 2007 and 2008 happened. And lo and behold, the lights turned out at Home Bank, and ended up working for Countrywide and then Bank of America. After that, I knew I did not want to be a part of the big bank atmosphere. And so I connected with Casey Crawford at that time, New American Mortgage, and been here ever since 2011.
With New American or with Movement?
Well, it was New American Mortgage originally, and then we changed our name in 2013.
Oh, wow. Did not know that. Look at that. Learning things.
That's right.
Yeah, Casey, I've honestly never had a conversation with a person, but I've learned a ton watching him on social. You guys have some of my favorite human beings in the world, from Sarah Middleton to Bill Hart to Kevin Montgomery, and some phenomenal teammates that you guys have there. 3 huge mentors that have really impacted my world. I'm sure you've enjoyed being around them, right?
100%. That's why I'm still here.
Yeah. Leadership is And it's funny. I mean, it was one of these things that when Sarah coached me personally for, golly, I'd probably say 3, 4 years or so. And she was the number one reason why I chose the Fairway, which is the previous company I was with.
Mhm.
And I was planning on going to another local bank and our local mortgage company, and she got wind of it. And she literally, we talked that morning. She flew into Dallas that afternoon. We had dinner. We had dinner that night, and I was signed up with Fairway the next day.
It sounds like Sarah. Yeah.
So she's like a world class closer, but
Yeah.
she's phenomenal what she does. So
That's cool. Absolutely. From top to the bottom, I can't speak, enough about the organization. Really good people.
yeah, and Kevin's an awesome guy. He's a huge fan of 24/7 mindset, and so is Bill Hart.
Yeah,
Uh,
I vetted Kevin for a while, before I started connecting with you. I found you, and yeah, I gave Kevin a call and gave Bill a call, and they were like, "Yes, go talk to Wally." Yes, they gave the blessing 100%.
well, I guess run through me the journey. So when did the first time did you hear about me? When the first time did you hear about 24/7 mindset or the book or academy or that?
I think it was January, February of this year,
Okay.
and believe it or not, I found you like there was a Facebook ad. I guess you do a ton of Facebook ads, so it worked. It caught my attention, and I'm rarely on Facebook or social. I mean, the only reason why I go on there is to check like our loan officer page, for information. And for some reason, you popped up, and it said something about financial advisors or something along those lines, and I just started. At that time, I started. I wanted to change my business mindset of who I was going to target and just the way I do things on a daily basis, and so yeah, it intrigued me. It was something I'd never seen before. And as I dug into it, I got excited because, early this year, I was pretty burned out. Well, it was just one of those things, 20, 21, 22, just kind of, there was a lot going on. And I was kind of fed up with the business, to be honest with you. And it really gave me a little bit of renewed energy. So I appreciate everything that I've learned from you so far.
So what does burnt out Chad kind of look like? Uh, the reason I asked that is so like I remember COVID happening and we were going from, I don't know, 40, 50 loans a month to 70, 80 loans a month and, doing lock calls from 9 a.m. to like 9 p.m. 6 days a week. And all these loans are coming at you, but it got to a point where like, I did not want to touch another loan. I don't want anybody to call me. And then you like 2021, the party keeps going. 2022, the party keeps going, and the music stopped in 23. But what's burnt out Chad look like?
Yeah, the energy was depleted. I was working too many hours, and I got to a point where I was just reevaluating, my time in the business, and look, just kind of a looking back and saying, okay, I spent so many hours on this partner, and look where I am now. It's not this. I don't even have a relationship with this person anymore. And how many other realtors are the same way, so I knew I didn't want to focus on realtors anymore. I knew that for a fact. They're going to be a part of these transactions when you're doing purchase loans. That's, it's inevitable, but I didn't want to focus. I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket with them. And so I didn't know how to really what direction to go in until I started looking at the 24 mindset system.
Yep. So when we broke down together the 24/7 mindset, the 6 lane highway,
Mhm.
was it intimidating for you? Was it easy for you to understand? Did it click right away, or do you like, hey, there's too many steps?
Um, it it was a little bit intimidating at first, to be honest with you, just because I didn't understand some of the terminology. I was kind of, had a little bit of a little apprehension of, calling these advisors, calling these wealth partners, and because I didn't have a lot of experience talking to them. But in the end, when you start doing they're human just like everybody else, and you just got to figure out what their pain points are, just like in any type of sales process. And, you've given me the tools to be confident in those conversations and to start, leveraging my relationships to benefit their business.
Mhm.
So it's been great, just to seeing all the connections come into play and come to fruition.
Yeah, and I think what I've liked so much about you is there's so much implementation that you'll do once you've got all the steps. I think if there's 7 steps in the process and you get 3 or 4 of the steps, you don't really jump into it and try to figure out the rest of it. But if you get clarity around all 7 steps, you're off to the races.
Yeah,
Right?
100%. 100%. So it's just a matter of repetition and really just jumping in it with confidence, really.
Yeah, I think one thing I learned with you is that clarity and buy-in of each step of the process with you, you really excelled. If you didn't have buy-in and you didn't have clarity, which is totally normal, then you wouldn't jump into it.
That's right.
So is that something been that way for a while?
Yes, that's happened in all aspects of my life.
Yeah, too funny. You a golfer by chance or no?
I try. I've got twin boys that are young. They're 10 years old, and it's hard for me to get out on the course and spend 4 hours on a Sunday to play golf. So
Yeah, one thing that I was going to say is some of the greatest golfers. It's interesting because some will go an aggressive swing on aggressive line, but the more consistent ones will take an aggressive swing on a safe line.
mm-hmm.
What I liked and what I appreciated about your process was definitely more aggressive swing on a safe line versus aggressive swing on an aggressive line.
That's right, 100%.
All right. Before we talk about all your massive successes, let's talk about some of your failures. So when you were launching, when you're digging in, reaching out to your past clients, getting a relationship with financial advisors, where are some doors that were slammed in your face? Where were you kind of embarrassed that you kind of dropped the ball? Kind of walk us through some of those.
The annual calls, the AMRs, the mortgage efficiency checkups, those can be a little bit intimidating sometimes because you're going to talk to people that you haven't talked to in 4 or 5, 6 years, and they're not like, oh, these guys aren't going to remember me. What if I screwed up on a deal and I just don't remember? Are they going to be mad at me and slam the phone down? But none of that happened. You get them on the phone and you'll surprise them and you'll talk to them and they'll remember you. And, you've got information there in your system that says, they had kids at the time or, they moved from a different state. And so you've got stuff to really talk to them about. But that, just getting over that hump, that call reluctance is really, that's what did it for me. I mean, that it took a few times, but now it's like breathing. You just call them and you just talk with them. They're people just like anybody else.
So calling your past clients, they don't bite?
Usually not. No, they don't. It's surprising is that, they remember and some, those emotions start coming back and they'll start remembering, the experience that we had together. And so it's there. I've had a lot of good conversations.
Yeah, it definitely surprised me earlier back in 2019 when I started reaching out to past clients. I had the same exact feeling. So what you feel is completely normal. Mm-hmm. And, what do I say? And I remember I wish I had some recordings from my original beginnings of doing an annual mortgage view. And it was just like, they were so horrible, absolutely horrible. But like over time you realize, okay, this worked or this worked better, or I can prove here, or this conversation went better. Why did that conversation go better? And you start kind of auditing your successes and your failures. And before you know it, we've built a process that's built on best practices.
I think it's easy for us to forget, all the successes that we've had with different situations. And, so it's nice to put yourself back into to their top of mind. Yep. But what I love about it is now I've got the tools to really go a step further into their homeownership journey and give them recommendations on a financial advisor, on a general contractor, someone who can help them with their lawn, someone who can help them with their home insurance, someone who can set up a trust or a will. I mean, then you just become so much more valuable bringing that to the table. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some of your successes. So what's an early success that you had, like you identified, I think I can do this?
So one thing that you preached from the beginning is, the more you give, the more you get. Mm-hmm. And so I've taken that to heart. So, I've focused on, 3, 4, 5 financial advisors, and I've been giving like crazy, giving. And I've asked the questions, who's your top referral source? And, how much try to dig into the financials of it. How much does each client really net you on a commission
Yeah.
on average? And they're kind of taken back by some of those questions sometimes, but it's okay, because we're all business people. We're talking money. But I've had a lot of successes just giving. I've had people call me and thank me, and for the referrals that we've given, because they've turned into really good clients. And so hearing those successes of the advisors that I've partnered with I think is a big win.
Yeah, and I think it's like once you realize giving is a great tactic, but also understanding how to actually receive
Mm-hmm.
back.
Yes.
And did you struggle at all with giving and not receiving, and how? And
100%, 100%. And then we had a call a few weeks ago. It may have been last month, and I think I told you about that, and you said, well, are you following up? Which is sales 101. But but lo and behold, I wasn't following up like I should. And so now it's time blocked every Friday. I've got follow up time. And that has really helped, because, just one follow up call a few weeks ago, I ended up landing about a $1.5 million refinance, and just from a follow up. And I never would have gotten that if I didn't time block that out like you asked, and followed up. So I appreciate that.
well, I think what's cool about that is most people, that when I hear someone is giving out referrals but not receiving referrals back, it's like 99.999% of the time, it's just because they're not following up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't follow up, they're not going to follow through.
That's right.
And then, the whole point of the Friday call, and for the listeners out there, it's what we teach in our courses, is that you call your referral partners you referred business to, your CPAs, financial advisors, family will attorneys, every Friday, and use time blocking in your calendar. And once you make that call, you're saying, hey, I referred you John Smith on Tuesday or Patty Sue on Wednesday. Were you able to get a hold of them? Were you able to get a hold of them? Are they moving forward with you? Or did they commit to you? Oh, you're having trouble getting a hold of them? Let me reach back out to them, and I'll get you back in the game. Mm-hmm. It goes a mile and a half, because it gets them to understand, like, oh crap, like, Chad's referring me, but he also cares that I convert from those referrals. He actually cares that I'm actually going to get those referrals, and gives you a great opportunity to say, great, you got a chance to talk to Patty Sue. Wonderful. They're moving forward with you. That's awesome. Who did you meet with this week that you can refer me to, so I can earn the same income that you're earning? That's and right. Having that kind of mindset, having that kind of mindset shift, is an absolute game changer for loan officers. What finally got you over that hump to have that mindset shift? Because you were not reaching out to before. We've gone through an accountability meeting that we did in class, and then now you started reaching out. Like, what was the mindset shift that got you over the hump?
I think it was just taking the advice that you've given us. Really, that's what it is. I mean, you've got the blueprint, Wally. I mean, you've got a successful blueprint that you've given to us, and it's up to us to follow it. And if we drop the ball in one of these steps, then that's a problem. And that, just filling in the gaps and just being confident and put it on the calendar. Yes, if it's there on the calendar, it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so give me one. So you already gave us a success one that you followed up and you got a $1.5 million deal out of it. What's one that was a failure?
Man, a failure within a relationship, or a failure within a client?
I think like one thing that there was like this anxiety that I kept up feeling when you and I would talk with you, that you felt like you were doing the right things by giving, but you weren't following up. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like I would feel that you would feel that there was a less of a worthiness. There was a less of, I should be getting success by now, but I'm not getting referrals back. And finally, when you had that mindset shift to follow up, you started getting referrals back and started making income off your referrals. Mm-hmm. Like, was it the feeling of you not following up and you not getting referrals that finally motivated you to understand to follow, not skip steps?
It was. I mean, it just because I could see the activity that I was doing. I could see everything I'm recording. I know what referrals were given out.
Yeah.
and to who, and I haven't seen as much reciprocation happen. And in one of the conversations I have with the advisors, that this relationship is going to be reciprocal. I mean, we are going to be true partners. I'm
Yeah.
going to be referring you, and you're going to be referring me, and we're going to help each other. And when I see all this give, and nothing's been given to me, that's a problem. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels, and so now I'm just kind of wasting my time, wasting my efforts. And so then you have to call out the advisor, whoever the referral partner is. You got to hold them accountable. And
Yeah.
it's okay to do that. I was a little bit reluctant to do that because I didn't want to make someone, upset and not have the opportunity to work for them anymore. But I think most of them do appreciate it.
100%. They respect you a lot more when you call them out like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not calling them out. You're like, hey, you suck. You're horrible. You're bad. It's, hey, I referred you John Smith. Looks like you got a hold of John Smith. You're making an income off John Smith. Who do you know that you can introduce me to so I can make an income like you?
That's
you're
right.
not you're not asking to rob them. You're not like selling them beachfront property in Arizona. I mean, all you're doing is asking to provide for your family, put food on your family's plate because you chose to put food on their plate. It's a completely normal conversation to have. It's just you find a lot of loan officers that are really reluctant and too nervous to have that conversation.
Right. You're exactly right. But they shouldn't be. They should be confident with what they're doing and the value that you're providing as advisors. I mean, because you're really, I mean, you're helping their business more than they're helping you in the end, honestly.
Have you had the conversation of who's your number one referral partner that refers you? What's your average commission yet?
Yeah, I have those conversations. I try to have those every single time, and I get different answers.
Yep.
And like you said, I spent a lot of my time, initially focused on these advisors who just, were really asset based, and and like you said, the insurance based advisors are a little bit better to work with.
Yeah, and it's not, I don't know if I'd say better. I would say it's more financially beneficial to you as a loan officer to work with a life insurance focused financial advisor, and
Right.
it's by far a better way to go, at least in my opinion of things.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what was an answer that surprised you when you asked a financial advisor, "Hey, what's your average commission or average profit, or who's your number one referral source? And if so, how many referrals they send you a month or a year?" Is there an answer that surprised you for either one of those?
I got an answer recently that they had another mortgage partner that sent them 3 deals a month.
Okay.
Which I was shocked because I was coming in saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be able to win this relationship," and because I know that if they have a mortgage partner, they're not sending them any business. But that's not the answer I got.
Selfishly, I'd be curious to see who their loan officer is, and are they part of the academy already?
Yeah, I'll get that information. I know they're from Atlantic Bay, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious about that because I think it's what I teach is not rocket science. And what I teach is like not world renowned, brand new to the marketplace. BNI has been around for what, 30, 35 years or so. And all it is mortgage BNI.
That's right.
So there should be a ton of people out there doing it, but majority of the people, you're not going to run into that.
That's right.
So your average financial advisor, for them to be tickled pink by the relationship with you, what is the number of referrals you think that you got to refer them? And were you surprised how low that number was?
Yeah, it's not much. A couple a month is really all they're looking for. And some advisors, they're looking for a certain kind of client.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to give them a ton of referrals if they want someone who has at least $500,000 in assets, but sometimes you just don't have that particular referral to give them. So, which is why we have multiple people to work with.
Yeah, well, I think also I think I've shared the story before, and there's a financial advisor here locally in Dallas named Austin, and I was referring him probably 4, 5, 6 referrals a month, and he finally took me out to lunch, and he was firing me over at lunch, and I was like, man, I don't get this. He goes, well, this is our last lunch we're gonna have together. We're gonna part ways with you, and I'm like, I don't understand what I do wrong. He goes, well, you're not listening. I told you I work with clients that have $1 million or more in assets that we manage. You keep referring me these clients that just want life insurance or keep $100,000 401k rollover, IRA rollover. That's not my clientele, and it's clogging up my pipeline. And the response, I just sat there. I'm like, man, I feel like such an idiot. Like the dude's like said that to me multiple times, and I just didn't listen. And I said, here's my question. So you feel free to fire me today. However, I've got to learn from this. So if I learn from this, Austin, what would what would the number of referrals that you would have been like beyond tickle pink? Like who's your number one referral source? And this is where this came from. So who's your number one referral source and how many referrals they send you, say a month or a year? He goes, my number one biggest referral source refers me one client every quarter. And from that one client every quarter, I land probably two clients a year from them. Wow. And that's your number one referral source. So I said, if I refer you more than one client a quarter with $1 million more in assets, and you land more than two clients a year, then that would make me your number one referral source. And he goes, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I got it. So all I did for the next like 3-4 months was trying to find someone that had $1 million more in assets that I can introduce it to. They didn't have to go with them, but I did have that conversation. Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is I took something like that was a failure, figured out how I failed at it, and then the questions that I teach in the academy positions you to succeed in those conversations instead of it gives you the opportunity of failing like I did.
100%. Yeah. That's why, I want to try to dig deeper to these people, every single time, trying to figure out who their ideal client is, maybe on the first conversation I have, just so I know who I'm working with.
Yeah. Yeah. So now is it, you think majority of your business now is coming from financial advisors, 50-50, or what percentage do you think?
It's probably, probably 25% really. And it probably 50% is coming from database. And so
75% of your business is coming from financial advisors and database?
Yeah.
Freaking awesome.
Because I don't want to work with realtors anymore.
Freaking awesome. All right. So that's my biggest win of this whole show. 75% of his business now comes from wealth advisors or just only financial advisors.
Yep.
And a database. And what's super cool about that is, I preach the 6-lane highway. I preach that you can earn referrals from CPAs, financial advisors, family will attorney, insurance agents, your database, and then realtors. But what I love so much about loan officers that have been successful in the 24/7 Mindset Academy is they focus on one lane. Once they feel like they've mastered that one lane, then they go to the second lane. Where I see loan officers that have struggled is because they focus on all 6 lanes at the same time.
Yeah.
Super cool is like he focused on database and went to financial advisors. And then it's totally cool if you only have a 2-lane highway, but be a master in both those lanes.
That's right. 100%. Yeah. I wanted to master the financial advisor lane first before I moved on to something else, so I'll probably continue on the financial advisor lane for another 3 or 4 months and then maybe drift over to CPAs.
Yeah, and I think you'll see your business kind of definitely grow from that area. So one of the favorite things I heard you say probably on one of our last calls in class was that now you're starting to get referrals from other loan officers. Did I get that right? That are in the financial advisor space?
Yeah, it's funny, man. So yeah, I'm starting to get a reputation of the guy who doesn't work with realtors, but I do have a pretty large financial advisor network. And lo and behold, I got like 2 or 3 leads in 1 week where it was their clients, but they needed a financial advisor. So I was easily able to just refer these 3 folks over to my advisor partners because they didn't see the value in it. So, but I am starting to teach some folks here in the office as well about the value of working with wealth partners. I'm putting together working with our marketing department to try to help us gauge some interest from advisors around the area. So word's starting to spread pretty quick.
Well, y'all have Harlan over there, right?
That's right.
He was with us at previous company. Have you heard him speak to teach with financial advisors?
Yeah. And that's a great door opener, frankly. Harlan and our reverse team. So that just having Harlan, bringing them in the office, doing a webinar, inviting agents or advisors to webinars have really opened up several doors for me. So I'm truly appreciative of that.
So how have you marketed that, and how can people learn from you from how you marketed that?
From Harlan and the reverse team. It's a pretty easy door opener because you can. So Harlan's 100% convinced. I'm sure you've heard him say this too, that the majority of people who turn 62 don't need a reverse mortgage, but should have one.
Okay.
And so if you tell a financial advisor that the majority of people that are turned 62 should have a reverse mortgage, ask them, hey, this is what Harlan is saying. The majority of people should have a reverse mortgage at 62. I don't know if I believe them, but you're the expert in this. Can you jump on this webinar, take a look, and spend some time with them? Tell me what you think. And that has been door openers for me, because most people want to jump in and just kind of receive some information about reverse, even though if they don't necessarily agree with it. Harlan's got a different spin on the reverse product. So that's helped. Has helped open up some doors and gain some couple relationships, which has been nice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I want to give you some closing thoughts on your end. And if someone's read the book of 24/7 Mindset, or, has seen stuff online, what would your advice to be someone that's on the fence of implementing the 6-lane highway or implementing the client concierge system?
I think it is a commitment, because it's a total different way of doing your business. And if you're tired of the rat race of chasing realtors down the street, begging for business, competing with 1,000 other loan officers that are all going after the same advisor, same realtor, this is the way to go. This is an alternative, and you have to commit to it. And it does take time to kind of make it your own and kind of put the right people into place. But once you do start doing it, you can see the change. You can see how this can be not a short-term situation, but really a long-term way of doing things that will open up your time as a person.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that you're making a higher income now than when you were burnt out a year ago?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And really, it's even more so, like, my mental health is much better now. It is, as just tired of, like I said, tired of chasing realtors, tired of, losing relationships over, very minute things that, the advisor relationship it's a stronger one. They're in it for the long run. They're not going to call you on the weekends and bother you. They're loyal. You're not going to be one of 3 people they refer. So it's just a win-win for me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I'm definitely super proud of all the hard work that you've put in. It's been really cool to see you implement. And, when I wrote the book, 24/7 Mindset, it was one of these things I'm like, is anybody going to read it? Is it just going to be like my wife and kids are going to read it? And when it took off and it hit the bestseller list, and like when like everybody was, so many people were like, they were getting behind it, and then you launched the academy, and it's just been really cool to see successes that other people have had. And it all sparked from planting that seed. So
Yeah.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being brave enough to implement. Thank you so much for thinking outside the box and following some crazy goofball named Wally and 6-lane highway. And but I think it's really awesome what you've done. My last question, and we'll close this up. The first time you heard the term 24/7 mindset, what came to mind, and when you finally heard what it really meant?
Yeah, it's totally confusing, Wally. I don't know if that was by design or what. Well, yeah, it works. So yeah, 24/7. Yeah, spinning my wheels 24/7. Working, on the phone, just not having any life at all. But yeah, it turned out to be completely different than what I thought it was going to be. So that was very refreshing.
Yeah, and you were definitely the world previously. You're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and now I definitely don't know if you work only 24 hours a week, 7 months a year, but you're on the way. And then more importantly, the mental health.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I've got more mental health, better mental health. I'm a better husband. I'm a better father. I'm a better just in peace with myself, and which is worth more than any amount of money in the world.
100%. Yeah, my wife it sees the change in me too. So I'm gonna keep going this direction.
Good. All right, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks so much for sharing your story. Thank you for the listeners of listening, and hopefully you've taken away a lot of nuggets. Chad, if more loan officers hear this and want to refer you their financial advisor clients, how can they get a hold of you?
My website is my name, chadfleener.com. Yes, please refer all your clients. I'll take them.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Wally. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye. So thank you so much for listening today. It means a lot you took time out of your day. I don't take that lightly. Understand very clearly that you're very busy. With that being said, if you want to continue your journey and learn more about 24/7 Mindset, if you're on Facebook, which I'm going to guess you are, then go to 24/7 Mindset on Facebook and join the private community. I do coaching tips on there on a daily basis, but from scripts on there to systems on there, models, and the ability to be able to grow and scale a business while you have a quality of life. Hope to see you there.